Welcome back, everybody. Huskers in Kansas City. I'm your host, Jake Brown. Hope you all are having a good Monday so far. Wanted to preview the Oregon-Nebraska game tomorrow night at Pinnacle Bank Arena. Oregon having a tough year. They're 8-8. Huskers, of course, 16-0. It's a late tip-off, 8 o'clock game, but I think Pinnacle Bank Arena is going to be rocking. So let's go into Oregon's strengths. They're 8-8, bottom of the Big Ten standings. And coming off last year where they made it to the tournament and had a good run. So what are their strengths? They're 8-8. They've struggled in Big Ten play, but what are their strengths? Number one, they've got long, lengthy bigs, and they block a lot of shots and they get a lot of offensive rebounds. So that's going to be something we got to watch. Can Nebraska manage the boards? Second, they have an active, disruptive defense. They've got multiple 20-plus turnover games so far this season. So they're going to try to force a lot of turnovers and get points in transition. Their efficient ball movement. They've got high assist rates. Their assist to turnover ratio is really solid. They don't shoot that well from 3-point, but they can score points and they move the ball well. And then lastly, Oregon's strength, their front court presence. Nate Biddle, the 7-foot, 240-pounder, former 5-star recruit, is their leading scorer. And then their other forward, Kwame Evans Jr., is their leading rebounder. He's 6'10", 220 pounds. So it's going to be a challenge inside for Rank Mast and Burke Buchtengel. They're going to have to hold their own. These are the two best players on Oregon's team. Let's look at next their top scorers, player stats. So as I mentioned in the last episode, you guys, after their top 4 players, it really drops down. So they're top heavy. Nate Biddle is their leading scorer, the center. He's 7 feet tall, 240 pounds, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. Jackson Shellstad, their guard, 15.6 points per game, 3 rebounds, but then 5 assists. And then Kwame Evans Jr., 13 points. He's their leading rebounder, 7.6 points per game or rebounds per game, 2.4 assists. And then Takai Simpkins, their other guard, 12.6 points per game, 3 rebounds, 2.5 assists. But then you see the drop off after that. So their top 4 scorers is really, those are their guys. But you see the size inside and the rebounding. Nate Biddle, 7 rebounds per game. Evans, 7.6. Then even Sean Stewart, their forward, 5.6. So they rebound. Nebraska's going to have their hands full. We're going to really have to work to control the glass in this game. Let's look at their schedule. So they've struggled in Big Ten play. They don't have any big wins. You see their last game, they lost to Ohio State by 10 points, lost to Rutgers in overtime. They beat Maryland by 10 points. But then you get to the non-conference, Gonzaga beat them. That was a fairly close game. UCLA, USC both beat them. Creighton, who we slaughtered, beat them by 10 points. Their biggest loss was San Diego State, which is odd. They lost by 17. Auburn also beat them. So you can see they don't have, any high-profile wins. They've beaten up on some lower-tier teams, Hawaii Rice, South Dakota State, Oregon State, UC Davis, Portland. But this is a team that really is just bottom of the pack in the Big Ten. So I'm expecting Nebraska to win this game big. I want to first go in before my prediction to talk about the keys to the game, okay? So number one for Nebraska, we've got to control the pace like we did in the second half against Indiana, and we've got to limit turnovers, okay? We've done a fairly good job of minimizing turnovers, especially at home. That's going to be big. Control the pace, play at our pace. Nebraska thrives in transition, getting up quick threes. We need to play at our pace, okay? So control the pace and limit turnovers. Number two, clamp down on their guards and dribble penetration. They're going to try to feed the ball inside. They're going to try to get our guys in foul trouble. But what Nebraska has going in their favor is the no-middle defense. We prevented teams from getting a good amount of paint shots. Oregon doesn't shoot well from 3. So I think that's going to play in our favor. I think we're going to do a good job minimizing paint points from Nate Biddle and Kwame Evans. Third, home court advantage. We're playing at Pinnacle Bank Arena. It'll be electric once again, 16-0, our best record ever. We've done a good job taking advantage of the momentum swings at home. I think we're going to do it again in this game. So my prediction for this one, I see the Huskers blowing out the Ducks, 82-65 at home. I think Rank Mass will be our leading scorer with 18 points, 8 rebounds. I'm sorry. I think Sanford will be our leading scorer with 20 points. I think he'll make 4 threes in this game. He'll stay hot. Then Rank Mass, second leading scorer. I see him having around 18 points and 8 boards, winning the matchup against Nate Biddle. And then Jamarcus Lawrence is going to continue his strong stretch, 12 points. I think he's going to have a big assist night. I think he'll get around 8 assists in this game. So those are my predictions. Rank Mass, 18 points, 8 rebounds. Sanford, 20 points, and Jamarcus Lawrence with 12 points and 8 assists. So again, I have the Huskers winning big, 82-65 at Pinnacle Bank Arena. I think we're going to continue to shoot well from three-point range. I think we're going to be active on defense. I think we're going to get a lot of turnovers, especially at home, get some transition buckets. But I think this is a game we should dominate, and I see it going that way. So let's move to Husker football. We've got some updates. We landed a commitment today. Want to talk about that. There's only 4 days left in the transfer portal, you guys. I think the Huskers still got to add a couple more pieces on the defensive line and running back. But let's start off with the updates. So Danny Kaelin, familiar name, started his career at Nebraska, then transferred to Virginia last season. He just committed to the Huskers. Let's take a look at his screenshot. So again, he was a high-profile recruit coming out of Nebraska out of high school. He's a 3-star transfer. I think this is big for depth in our quarterback room. I think that's just going to only help the offseason competition. So we got Danny Kaelin, we got TJ Lateef, and Anthony Colandrea. I think that's going to be solid. It'll be a lineup this summer for a good, heated competition. This kid was a highly touted recruit coming out of high school. I think it only helps the competition and makes that room better. So glad to see that he fell into our laps. And then a big one from today, Jazir Whittington, defensive tackle from Pittsburgh, committed to Nebraska. Doesn't have a transfer rating. I imagine he'll be a 3-star. But if you want to talk about this guy's stats, he's 6 feet, 270, so a defensive tackle. He'll have 3 years of eligibility left. That's what's big with this guy. But over his 2 years at Pitt, he amassed 16 tackles, 1 sack, a fumble recovery, and 4.5 tackles for loss through 2 seasons. I know Pitt was really bummed to lose this guy. It's another depth piece for our interior defensive line. I think this guy could come in and start right away. Love the pickup here. We needed defensive tackles, and we got one, baby. The other guy I talked about last episode, I butchered his last name, but he's a JUCO All-American defensive tackle, Andy Berberia. I think that's how it's pronounced. I've heard a lot of people say it now. Andy Berberia. He was a JUCO All-American at Iowa Western Community College, which is a powerhouse. He amassed in 2 seasons there 78 tackles, 27.5 tackles for loss, and 14 sacks over 2 seasons. Here's his screenshot. Andy Berberia, 3-star coming out of the JUCO ranks. That's shocking to me with the numbers he put up. I don't understand how he's not a 4-star or higher. But you see, in the JUCO ranks, he's the 20th overall player coming out of JUCO. 6th rated defensive lineman, 2nd best player in Illinois. So this is a great pickup. 2 stud defensive tackles, Jazir Whittington and Andy Berberia, coming to Lincoln. This kid, I think, is going to be a starting defensive tackle next year. And you see his size, 6'2", 290. Their coach at Iowa Western just raved about this kid. So love that pickup. Didn't really know a lot about him or understand it at first, but I think this is a big-time pickup. In other news, we hired our defensive line coach, Corey Brown, who comes from Miami of Ohio. I will say his Redhawks defense this past season amassed 40 sacks. So that's why we went and got this guy. He also has a relationship with Rob Orich. He coached with Rob Orich in 2021, so they're familiar with each other. I think that's going to help us get more visitors, more defensive line visits set up these last 4 days. I think that's big to get a guy named as our defensive line coach. So that's big. Let me go through. I want to share my screen and just give you guys the update on our recruiting class so far. Let's take a look at who Nebraska's got. And since all of these transfers count for the 2026 recruiting class, you know all the guys we got from high school, Danny Odom, the 5-star corner, Claude and Puma. But then here's our transfers. We've landed 14 transfer commits so far. Jazeer Whittington is the brand new one at a Pitt. Jazin, I don't know how to say it. Shiggs, a safety out of Towson. So we got another safety. Didn't end up getting the DeLaShawn Staley, I think it was, the other safety from San Diego State. So we got this guy from Towson. There's Danny Kalen coming over from Virginia. Victor Evans, the corner we got. We did sign a long snapper from Michigan State. Quasi Gilmer, the receiver from UCLA. Anthony Jones, the edge from UCLA. The big linebacker out of Oregon State, Dexter Foster. Here's one of the two safeties from San Diego State. We got committed, Dwayne McDougal. Then our quarterback, Colin Drea from UNLV. Will Hawthorne, linebacker, Iowa State. It might be Trey Babalade from South Carolina, offensive tackle, 15 starts. Owen Chambliss, the linebacker. And then Brendan Black, offensive guard from Iowa State. So 14 total commits to add to our 10 commits out of high school. So 24 total commitments for Nebraska with 4 days left to go. So we've got some work to do. My burning questions for the audience to end this segment. Where do you guys think the Huskers go next in the portal? There's been some rumors that we're looking at the running back from Minnesota. There's some rumors that we're still working hard to get Mubanga, the offensive lineman from LSU. Where do you guys think we're going to go next? What do you think is the biggest position of need with only 4 days left in the transfer portal? What do you guys think? I also want to know, what are your guys' grades for our transfer portal class thus far? I give it a B-. I think those late additions at defensive tackle, Andy Berberia and Jazeer Whittington, are big. I think getting Colin Drea from UNLV and Danny Kalen back in the quarterback room makes that room better. I like the receiver pickup, Quasi Gilmer, but I think overall it was underwhelming in my opinion. I would have liked to see us get some higher rated guys or at least go after them. Right now, Nebraska in the transfer portal team rankings were 31st with our 14 commits. So again, I always like to get our classes in the top 25, whether that's from high school, transfer portal. I want to see us get a top 25 class. And with these additions, from the high school, the 10 high school kids we got, we were like 111th in the nation. Adding these 14 guys, having the 31st overall team recruit rankings out of the transfer portal, that's not going to get us to a top 25 class. So I think these last 4 days are huge for us, but my grade would be a B-, C+ so far. What do you guys think? A lot of you might have different opinions. I know that the stars next to their name don't always, mean everything. Obviously the Huskers have been, putting in work and getting these guys, but I want to know your thoughts. What are your grades on our transfer portal class so far? The last burning question, going to Nebraska basketball. When does our undefeated streak end? Something I've thought a lot about. Every time I do a prediction, I'm picking the Huskers to win. Eventually that'll come to an end. But when do you guys think our undefeated streak comes to an end? On a 20-game winning streak leading the nation, 16-0, is it going to end? Do you think we'll somehow defy all odds and get and finish undefeated? That's highly unlikely. I want to know when you guys think it'll come to an end. Okay. So those are my burning questions. Number one, where do the Huskers go next in the portal? What is your grade of our transfer portal class so far? And when does Nebraska basketball's undefeated streak end? Again, we've got Oregon tomorrow night, 8 p.m., Pinnacle Bank Arena. It'll be a huge game for Nebraska. The home crowd will be electric. I see us getting a big win at home. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. That's all I've got for today, guys. I'll be doing a recap of the Oregon game, likely Wednesday or Thursday. I'll also do some final updates on the transfer portal. I appreciate everyone tuning in. Please leave your comments, like, subscribe. I do this for fun. I've really enjoyed doing it, but I really like getting your guys' feedback and in the comments. Let me know what I should talk about. Baseball's right around the corner. Do we want to start doing updates on baseball? We've won 2 Big Ten championships in a row in baseball. I think that could be something to think about. But thanks for tuning in, you guys. Have a great rest of your Monday. Tune in for the Huskers tomorrow night against Oregon. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, go Big Red, baby.